What's up, y'all? Today's video is all about cause and effect. This brand new tires, brand new tie rods, the effect of that is no money. Hocus brocus. So I'm gonna jump in my boat, this boat I got this year, and I'm gonna go get me some dinner. Luckily there's gas in the truck, there's gas in the boat, no food in the fridge, so I gotta go get some food. That's what I mean by cause and effect. I spent some change putting new shoes on my truck and tie rods. Now I ain't got no money. So for a little while I might have to live off fish. Luckily it's harvest time, it's fall. Things are really popping off, and I can talk to you a little bit more about the conditions and what fish are doing, what I'm expecting when we get on the water. But I just wanted to let you know a little bit about why I'm going fishing today. So this is my boat, like I said, that I got this year. It's a Lund 1650 Rebel XL, and on the back of it I got a 60 horse 4-stroke command thrust Mercury motor. So, you know, if you know me, I like fishing smaller bodies of water, and I got a little roller trailer on this, 16.5 foot, just a smaller profile, smaller boat. I can sneak into smaller spots. And one of the reasons also relating to money is that I saved a little bit of money by going with a little bit smaller boat so that I could put more in electronics. I'm very fascinated with the ability to find fish with these electronics, and that's going to help me today shortcut feeding myself. So the power of these electronics is really important to me. I cut a little bit of cost by getting a smaller boat, but still being very fishable with the electronics that I have on this boat. So if you want, I can tell you, I can do a whole video on why I chose this boat and how I lay it out and organize it, because I'm a pretty organized person and I kind of like the way I got it laid out. But I've been loving this boat this year. I've made a couple videos with it. There's gonna be more next year probably, because I filmed ahead of time. But you may be seeing 1 or 2 videos that I filmed in this boat this year so far. But this is my new boat. And then, yeah, like I say, I'm gonna get on the water and show you exactly how I utilize it to find fish and hopefully feed myself today. So let's go. Chewing on it. It's one of my favorite things about a jig and a minnow bite. They don't let it go. Hopefully this is the variety that we're looking for here. It seems a little squirrely, but wouldn't you know it? A little boat flipperooski. We're out here fishing a jig and a minnow, classic walleye presentation. And there's really no better way to do it in the fall than with a jig and a minnow. Just classic. Everything kind of pushes up shallow again, including all the bait and minnows. So we're kind of hitting that sweet spot right now. Sun's hitting the trees. And I'm just looking for wind-blown shores that have the presence of bait. Got an 1/8 ounce jig here, BMC Moon Eye, and a minnow. Right through the head, locked in the skull. And then I'm kind of a fan of the rip jigging tactic, where you're literally just snapping your slack line. So that minnow is really, and then kind of floats down, and they'll hit it on slack a lot of times, and you saw me load up on that fish. They're just chewing on it, chewing on it, chewing on it, and give them that sweeping hook set. Let's fill the box. So I'd kind of alluded to finding wind-blown shorelines, and I came in here, really studied my electronics hard. Of course, you can read the wind and know that it's blowing into a place, but I also need the presence of bait fish, and I need the presence of fish as well. So I kind of crept in here with side imaging. There's some fish up there and there's balls of bait up there. So as I eased in and started fishing, I'm fishing in about 12 feet, really kind of hovering between 8 and 12 at the moment. And as I got in here, boy, there was really a lot of fish in here. And I like running 2D and DI at the same time, because there's just no question that that's a fish when it's on DI. There we go. Oh, stay on. And as you can see, it's just kind of dragging that minnow through there and giving it some pops. Another good cutter. Oh, I get to eat tonight, and I got 4 brand new tires on my truck. Happy boy in the fall. As you can see, got a few in the box going. Sun's hitting the trees. Should not take me long to get my limit and get out of here, feed myself and my family, or my friends. So as I mentioned, this is an 1/8 ounce jig. We're fishing real shallow. So there's really no, you could fish a 32nd, but it also depends on the wind. Right now we've got decent enough wind where I'm gonna get away with the tried and true 1/8 ounce jig. And a lot of guys will fish mono because that keeps the jig up. And I've said in other videos before, I just love braid for everything. Like I'm sitting there snapping it, I got a direct connection to that jig. And when I get bit, there's no brainer that a walleye's chewing on it. So I like to use a braided mainline. This is 8-pound Suffix 131, and then I just got a 6-pound advanced fluorocarbon leader. A little 1,000 size Daiwa spinning reel, and then this is just a 7-foot light. I can really kind of feel my way around really good. It's not overbearing for that 1/8 ounce jig, so that's kind of the setup for that. It's perfect for those little cutter walleyes. As you can see, I'm just kind of whapping that slack line. I like to hear that noise of the braid coming off the water. For me, that's how I know I'm doing it right. That's the action I like on my jig and a minnow. One real important thing with this too, people talk about having soft hands. I'm literally holding onto my rod. Basically, it's just balancing on my fingers. My rod just kind of jiggles in the palm of my hand after each stroke. You really got to keep soft hands going, because if you get too stiff, that kind of takes away from the action of the minnow. And also, like I say, I'm fishing braid. I might be able to get away with a bite a little bit more from fishing mono, but when those fish pick it up, I can feel it right away. So I'm just limp wristed, and that fish does not know I'm there at all. So I like keeping soft hands when I'm ripping like that. All right, so this is the beauty of it. I'm back trolling, I'm covering water, going over as many fish as possible. I just went over way too many fish. So between me and about a cast length, there should be quite a few fish. So I've just spot locked into the wind and I'm throwing up on this break. And now I actually have to reel a little bit, obviously, but I'm just gonna kind of feel my way down the break. I wanna get down to bottom and then just hop it along. Ready, ready, ready. Right at the boat. Oh yeah. Let's finish that limit off. Do one more after this, but get the old fray bill out. Choked. Like I say, we just went over a ton of fish, so I'm gonna spot lock and just fan cast to them. Jig popped right out. Perfect cutters. We're almost done. We're almost out of here. So when I'm doing this cast and reel retrieve, you can see I'm picking up my slack with every snap of the jig. So I'm always keeping a tight line, you know. A lot of times they'll hit it off of the stroke. You just feel your rod tip, and that's when you just watch me do, let them chew on it, chew on it. Sometimes they'll eat it all the way, but better safe than sorry. If you want to own them, let them eat it for a little bit. This is smack dab in the middle of 2 waypoints, where I started catching fish and where I stopped catching fish. So really, I could fan cast on either side of me, confidently knowing that I'm in and around fish. So there's a fish right below the bow, which has been a very common occurrence. Back of the boat's got fish underneath it, front of the boat's got fish underneath it. And you know, a really good question for this is maybe, well, when do you start throwing a jig and a minnow in the fall? What water temps really dictate that? And to be honest, when you get below 65, you can probably start doing it. The biggest indicator is that there's actually fish shallow. If they're shallow, they're gonna eat a jig and a minnow. The only difference is, as the water cools, and you can do this till freeze up, you just have to slow your presentation down quite a bit. So right now I'm rip jigging it. That's one of my preferred ways to do it. These fish are pushing up shallow, pushing bait around real active. So if you can make yourself stick out of that school of bait fish, just an aloof minnow kind of off on its own, that's the one that's gonna get singled out and get hammered. Now, I guess, you know, fish are cold-blooded creatures, so as the water temperature cools, they get more lethargic. So, you know, they're obviously less apt to chase those big ripping minnows like that. So just dragging it on bottom for the most part. Just dragging it is usually all you have to do when the water really cools down like that. So a few simple things to remember in the fall. Wind-blown points, wind-blown flats and shorelines are going to be your best bet. Going to concentrate plankton, bait fish, and walleyes. Use your electronics, trust your electronics. If the fish are there, the electronics are going to show you. So pay attention to those. 1/8 ounce jig, rip jig it. As the water cools, slow it down a little bit. 7-foot light action St. Croix rod, 1,000 size little dialer reel here. 8-pound braided line, main line, and then just a 6-pound fluorocarbon leader for invisibility. And I got some fish to clean. I got a ways to go across the lake yet, so we better get rolling here. Go ahead and buy those tires.